Good day. On today's trending searches is the alleged failed coup d'etat on the president, and it's in this light that Nigeria, at 65, was not celebrated as this happened, although at the same timing. Let's do some analysis from the start. Across Nigeria, many citizens are feeling restless. From the streets of Lagos to the towns of the Niger Delta, the sense is growing that the government of President Bola Tinubu is failing to deliver on key expectations. Civil servants are complaining of delayed pay and rising costs. Households are struggling as fuel subsidies remain uncertain, inflation bites harder, and foreign debt continues to mount. Political promises made during the campaign seem ever more distant. In this climate of frustration, a startling story has emerged that a group of military officers may have attempted to overthrow the Tinubu administration. Tonight we tell that details on how it unfolded, what is known, what remains unclear, and what it means for Nigeria. Be analyzing this in segments. So Part 1. To understand why an alleged military plot might gain traction, we must first look at the deeper currents of dismay across the country. When Bola Tinubu assumed office, many Nigerians hoped for relief, hope for stable fuel prices, for a revival of the oil industry, for the cost of living to ease. Instead, several painful realities have taken hold. First, the subsidy question. The removal or uncertainty around fuel subsidies has ripple effects throughout the economy. Transport fares go up, goods cost more, and everyday Nigerians feel the squeeze. Second, Nigeria's foreign debt continues to grow, and the government's ability to meet its obligations is under pressure. The country is borrowing more and servicing existing debts, leaving less room for social investment. Third, inflation and cost of living pressures are real. For many households, salaries haven't kept pace with rising prices of food, rent and utilities. Civil servants, long seen as the backbone of government operations, are among those complaining of delays. Fourth, politically, the government's popularity has taken a hit. Voters expected stronger reforms, greater transparency, and tangible changes. When those don't appear, and when headlines focus more on crises than solutions, anger simmers. In that context, whispers emerge. If the people feel the government is not delivering, if institutional trust is eroding, might some within the military see an opportunity? Or might internal grievances within the armed forces mirror wider civil discontent? Part 2. The alleged plot emerges. In early October 2025, several media investigations began publishing startling claims. Reports claimed that around 16 military officers, spanning from lower ranks to senior ones, had been detained by the armed forces for an alleged plot to remove the government of President Tinubu. Some said the plan was timed for the National Independence Day parade, or other major national events, but that it was uncovered before execution. Investigative outlets suggested the officers were attached to the Office of the National Security Advisor, and may have been held in a Defense Intelligence Agency facility. The number 16 was repeatedly cited, though other sources offered about 16, or around 20, indicating some uncertainty. These reports triggered alarm in official circles and among the public. A coup, whether factual or attempted, would send shockwaves through Nigeria's political stability. The idea that a group of uniformed officers would consider removing a democratically elected president seemed to many like a return to dark times in Africa's political history. And the timing amid widespread public dissatisfaction only heightened the drama. Moving on. Part 3. The official response. The government and military authorities now entered the story. The Defense Headquarters, DHQ, issued a statement acknowledging that a number of officers had been detained and would face disciplinary action for breach of service regulations and indiscipline. But this statement was careful. The DHQ did not use the word coup or overthrow in its public announcements. Instead, it described the matter as a service issue, not a political conspiracy. Spokespersons emphasized that The officers were under investigation for failing promotion exams, for career stagnation, for other internal grievances. No formal accusations of treason or attempted coup had been made public at that stage. The government urged citizens and media to refrain from spreading malicious propaganda. The Independence Parade ceremony may have been scaled back for security reasons, they said, but not because of any confirmed strike. That official narrative served two purposes: to reassure the public that things were under control, and to downplay the notion of a full-blown plot that might undermine constitutional government. At the same time, critics argued that the lack of transparency, the absence of names, charges, and open court proceedings raised more questions than it answered. So Part 4, the social and political significance. Whether one views this as an actual coup attempt, a military disciplinary crackdown, or somewhere in between, the implications are serious. First, the idea that any segment of the armed forces might challenge civilian authority stirs deep memories in Nigeria of past military rule. Many citizens remember that, in earlier decades, military takeovers meant suspension of constitutions, curtailed freedoms, and long years of uncertainty. Second, the incident highlights the fragile state of civil-military relations. If officers feel alienated, under-rewarded or excluded, the risk of politicization in the military grows. Third, for a government already facing public dissatisfaction, the rumors of a coup may further erode legitimacy. If the leadership appears weak or divided, popular support may drain away. Fourth, in the regional context, West Africa has seen multiple coup attempts, and the international community watches such developments closely. Nigeria cannot afford to appear unstable or unpredictable. Part 5, which is most interesting part. Amid all the swirling rumors and tensions, President Tinubu took to social media with an unexpected message. In what looked like a casual post, he said, "I had a good breakfast and slept well this evening." The message followed reports that the Independence Parade was being cancelled or scaled back. Many interpreted the line as an attempt at humor. Others saw it as an odd juxtaposition amid serious national security concerns. Whether the post was a playful way of asserting calm, or a distraction amid nervousness, it entered the narrative, and was widely shared and discussed online. So finally Part 6. Despite the volume of reporting, significant questions remain. What evidence exists of a concrete plan? Were orders issued? Was there any logistic execution? Will any court-martial or legal proceedings be made public? Will the public know the names of the detained officers, the charges, the time and place of detention? Will families be allowed access? And will the government commit to transparency, or continue handling this as an internal matter? For Nigerians worried about heavy-handed military influence, lack of clarity feeds distrust. For international observers, the situation tests Nigeria's democratic credentials. If the government successfully handles this with transparency, names, charges, fair trials, it may reinforce civilian control. But if the matter remains shrouded in secrecy, it may signal weakness or worse. In conclusion, in a time when Nigerians are asking for more accountability, more fairness, more clarity, the news of the alleged coup attempt and the president's casual-toned, good breakfast message raises profound questions. Who watches the watchers? Who ensures the army stays under civilian command? And who reassures the public that democratic institutions remain strong? For Nigeria, the events of October 2025 represent more than a headline. They reflect the deeper tensions of a society in flux, economic pain, political frustration, fragmented trust. A government facing many tests, a military that must remain apolitical, a citizenry keen for stability and clarity. So this will be all for now. Please do well to encourage us by subscribing and sharing this video. See you in the next one.